Sunday, August 30th, 2009. Maggot story. Here's my maggot story. The one I didn't lose, anyway. I wrote this about 2 weeks after my first experience with maggots, about 5 years ago. I didn't realize people would ask me to repost it so soon. Hope you enjoy it. Sunday was warm and sunny, just how I always fantasized it would be when I finally went through with it. I started walking to the dumpster again, I think about 2 p.m., and I was really excited and nervous. I felt butterflies in my tummy, just anticipating what I was about to do. The dumpster is in the alley behind a restaurant near my house. It gets emptied on Tuesdays, so by Sunday it's pretty stinky, and there are flies buzzing around, which means there are things rotting inside there, and that's just perfect for me. A few times in the past, I climbed onto the dumpster and nothing too intense. Most I'd ever done was take off my pants and humping in some dirty garbage bags, and one time I laid there with my legs spread, watching the flies land on me. So anyway, I walked down the alley to the dumpster. As usual, I made sure nobody was around, just to be extra careful. You have to go behind a tall wooden fence to even see the dumpster, and the restaurant is closed on Sunday anyways, so I knew I wouldn't be noticed. But this time there's no way I want to be disturbed. I climbed up and over the side and onto my hands and knees into the massive plastic garbage bags and other miscellaneous rubbish. The bags felt warm from the sun. The smell in there was extremely foul, much worse than usual, and I knew it was because of my rotting meat. I sat and tried to get myself to relax for a few minutes. There was no reason to hurry. When I was ready, I calmly took off my sandals, my jeans, and my panties. Both pairs. I was wearing 2 pairs of tight panties with a bunch of my panty liners in the crotch, which keeps anything in my vagina from coming out when I move around, but I was going all the way this time, so I went ahead and got completely naked. That was a weird feeling, being totally nude inside the dumpster. It seemed very erotic to me. The sun felt very warm on my skin, especially my boobs, which pretty much never see the sun. I took a pair of rubber kitchen gloves out of my pants pocket and put them on. There was no way I could bring myself to actually touch a maggot with my bare hands. Lying with my back against the side of the dumpster, I was really already. I knew I would be. The sensation of the rubber glove against my clothes was very unusual, and I kinda liked it. I did that for a little while, just thinking about what I was going to do, while staring at the smaller garbage bag in the far corner of the dumpster where I'd left it yesterday. I still felt the butterflies in my tummy. I kept thinking to myself that I can't wimp out, that I had to go through with this. I wished for a moment that someone else was there to force me to do it, but decided that it was somehow much more sick and depraved to do it to myself willingly. And I thought, yeah, that's me. That's what I want. I deserve this. And I knew it was time to do it. I got back on my hands and knees and crawled to the other side of the dumpster. I sat down next to my garbage bag, gently picked it up and placed it in front of me. The terrible smell was already stronger. Carefully, I tore the bag open, and there they were. There had to be thousands of maggots, kind of beige yellow with little black spots on them, all writhing in a large mass. I couldn't even see the rotting meat underneath them. Dozens more maggots clung to the inside of the plastic, which was coated with a thick light brown slime. It was such a repulsive sight, I thought I was going to throw up right there, but I didn't. I took a few minutes to get control of myself, staring at the maggots, trying to work up the courage to continue. I scooped up some of the slime on my gloved finger and brought it to my nose. I knew what it was from the reading I'd done before. It was digestive juices from the maggots, full of bacteria, and it smelled just horrible. I thought to myself, that's what I'm going to smell like. That's the stench that's going to come from my vagina. I want that, I thought, spreading my legs wide apart. I dragged my slimy finger between my vagina lips. My claw felt like a hard little pebble beneath the slime. I didn't want to right then, though, and I was still right on the edge of gagging, too. But I knew there was no turning back now, so I let my fingers lightly touch the top of the maggot mass. The maggots felt like nothing I'd experienced before. They seemed to have such energy, totally different from picking up an earthworm or something, and they felt so alive. I was fascinated and nauseated at the same time. Sinking my fingers into the mass, I felt the solid meat beneath. Gently breaking it apart, I could see that the meat had turned gray except for the very center, which was still pink, and that the maggots had penetrated into it, but not too deeply yet. There was still plenty of food for my filthy little babies. I broke off a small chunk of meat that was covered on one side with maggots and held it for a moment while I fought back another urge to vomit. It was finally time, I thought. I leaned forward, and holding my vagina lips apart with one hand, I gritted my teeth and pushed the maggot-covered chunk of meat into my vagina. And then, totally without expecting it, I had a quick, sharp one that only made me want more. And more was coming. I broke off another small chunk of meat, along with another part of the maggot mass, and pushed it inside me. This one had more maggots on it, and I stopped for a moment to see if I could feel them inside me. I wasn't sure I could, but it didn't matter. I wanted them all. I needed to take them all inside me. With that thought, I went sort of wild. I started pushing bigger chunks of meat and maggots, and even handfuls of just maggots into me, over and over. I was practically hyperventilating too. I wasn't thinking at all about the noise I must have been making, but now I could definitely feel the maggots squirming inside my vagina. Just the idea of it made me. Finally, once I had crammed all of the rotten meat and all of the maggots I could inside me, I felt so filthy, so disgusting, like I'd turned myself into some low, depraved sort of beast, and that made me incredibly hot. together with the constant movement of the maggots inside me, but it was time to go. Holding my hand over my crotch, I slowly crawled back to my clothes and managed to get dressed again without anything coming out. I put the gloves back into my pocket and climbed out of the dumpster, and right then I couldn't hold back the revulsion of what I'd just done no longer. Holding myself up against the side of the dumpster, I threw up. Ever vomited while you were horny? It's weird. Walking home down the alley, I felt like I was in a daze. I kept asking myself how I could have done this to myself, but then asking why I'd waited so long. I had to walk slowly to make sure nothing got squeezed out of my vagina, but also to keep from coming again. I found myself amazed at the whole thing, that I'd stuffed the most intimate part of myself with these things that were too disgusting to even touch without gloves, and that I was totally getting off on it. Once I was home, I locked myself in my bedroom, took off my clothes except for my double panties, and got into bed. I closed my eyes and just let myself feel the maggots squirming inside me. For a while, I tried to watch TV, but I couldn't really pay attention to it. The maggots were too wonderfully distracting. I skipped to dinner. Later on, when I really had to pee, I did it by taking down my panties and holding my hand over my crotch, wearing the rubber gloves, of course. The next morning, I called off work after being awake most of the night. I mainly stayed naked in my bed all day, barely getting up for anything. I wanted to do nothing but let my nauseating little babies grow inside of my vagina. Pretty early, though, I realized the smell was getting really horrible. I opened the window. I also wet a bath towel and stuffed it under my bedroom door. I didn't want my parents to get suspicious. A little later on, I realized that I didn't need the panties to hold the maggots and the meat inside me. The mass pretty much stayed in place as long as I laid kind of still. I thought, hey, I guess that means I'm infested, which made me come again. I was always right on the edge of orgasm, and it didn't take much to go over the edge. I also noticed that the maggots seemed to be more active if I kept my legs apart and realized that they probably needed to breathe, so that's why I stayed a lot of the time. I did get up and read my email and posted an update on my webpage, but I couldn't seem to think clearly enough to write much. Then I had to pee again, but I just didn't want to get up, so I just peed in the bed. It made me come. I just wanted to keep feeling the maggots moving, and they were. They seemed even stronger, if anything. I was totally in heaven with it. I didn't eat it all either. I heard my parents come home from work. During the evening, my mom said hello through the door and wondered why I was staying in my room like a hermit. I said I was reading a novel all the way through at once, which I actually do sometimes. She left me alone. I hope she didn't smell anything. I surfed the web for a while that night and looked at. I came more times. I decided to go ahead and take a shit in my bed, right where I was. That just made me more turned on, and I ended up smearing some of my shit all over my thighs and my vagina and come again. I noticed that the maggots started coming out a bit. Maybe they liked the shit. A couple times one would creep up on my belly. I just flick it back down between my legs. I was getting tired at that point. It really was time to sleep, and my vagina was throbbing and kind of sore from all the attention, but I was most worried about making sure my maggots could breathe while I was sleeping. Somehow, I managed to find the energy to place a chair on either side of my bed and use sheets to tie my ankles to them. That would keep my legs apart during the night. I pulled the blankets over myself and dozed off lying in my piss and shit. For the most part, I slept through the night, but I kept waking up sweating with my vagina throbbing worse. I knew I was getting a bad infection from this, but I didn't care. I was not thinking right. I could also feel maggots crawling all over me. I guess I decided I liked that, and I'd play with until I came in. I don't know if I realized at the time that I wasn't wearing the rubber gloves anymore. I'd fall back to sleep and wake up again later with the little phrases running through my head. Other girls have babies, but I give birth to decay and filth. I'd keep thinking to myself, or I'd say I'm probably ruining my womb and I don't care. I want to be ruined. I know I must have been hallucinating from the infection. I was hoping the maggots had given up on the rotten meat and were eating my vagina instead. My fingers were buried inside my vagina, with my fingertips against part of the meat. Whenever I pressed on it, the maggots would squirm faster and I'd close again. I could do it over and over and keep. Finally, it was Tuesday morning and sunlight made me wake up. I knew I was really sick at that point. I felt weak and dizzy. I knew I had a fever and now my whole lower belly was sore and throbbing. Despite all that, I was still right on the edge of it. And then for some reason, all I wanted to do was see my maggots. I pulled the blankets aside and saw that I really did have maggots crawling all over my body. I was so whacked out I loved it, but I also saw that I had a rash spreading over my tummy and my thighs, and I was soaked with sweat. And then suddenly I needed to see what it looked like between my legs. I sat up a little, picked up the hand mirror I have on the table next to my bed, and held it between my thighs. My vagina was totally gaped wide open. I'd never seen it like that before. It reminded me of a mouth in a sick gagging expression. My inner lips were swollen and dark purple, almost black, while my outer lips were cherry red, and I was losing a layer of dead skin like a sunburn. A stream of the light brown slime was oozing from inside my vagina and down my butt crack onto the shitty mattress. Although I could still feel a large mass of maggots and rotten meat inside me, there were maggots everywhere between my legs, hundreds of them. And then I saw my fingers on my vagina. They plunged deep into my vagina and dragged out a wad of slime and maggots, which I pressed hard against my. I remember having a huge orgasm then, and I must have passed out. I think I was sobbing too, but I'm not sure. That's all I remember until I woke up in the hospital. Okay, class. Why don't we go ahead and reflect on the reading. So what the hell did we just read, right? That's probably what you're thinking. That's what I was thinking when I was a child and read this for the first time. I believe I was in middle school when I read the story for the first time. I think it said it came out in 2009. I believe this is a real life story. You know, I've seen, going through this lady's account, I've seen her have like more blogs and things like that. I haven't checked and seen if there was more about the maggot stories, but I think she's had another experience with maggots. It did say in the beginning that this was her first experience with maggots. I just wanted to share this with you guys because it's one of the craziest life stories I've ever heard. Obviously the story is disgusting. Obviously the story is gross. Obviously, I don't know, you must be rich, you know, to not even care about the repercussions of what this could do to your health and things like that. Not to mention the bestiality aspect of it, because you technically are raping thousands of maggots. So it's sexual for you, it's not sexual for the maggots. Obviously that's way less of a problem, somebody having sex with maggots, than somebody letting their groin grow an infection, choosing to. I'm just gonna say I'm glad she didn't suggest nobody else to this. You know, she could have been a serial something and just went around doing this to other people, tying people up, seeing what would happen, like a mad scientist. Thank you for just doing it to yourself. Do I think this person needs therapy? Yes, I think this person does need therapy. Only because, yes, obviously it's weird and sexual, but why? Why do you want to be ruined? Why do you want to hurt yourself? I think this person may have, I don't know, may have an addiction to pain, may have some sort of sexual addiction, I'm not sure. But this is obviously a crazy story. I remember reading this the first time. I tried to show it to everybody I could. I didn't have any friends in middle school or anything, so I don't think I really got anybody to watch it, but I remember reading it and just being absolutely dumbfounded by what I was reading. This is probably the worst story ever. It's so bloody horror. This needs to be a movie. I think somebody should make this story a movie. The body horror in this, oh my god. Night sweats from infection. I've dealt with that, having an infection in my tooth for 3 years, almost, well, it was actually longer, more like 7 years, but 3 years the infection was confirmed. I got night sweats every single night. Every single night I would have to put my soaking wet pajamas in the dirty clothes. I would have to, like, my blankets and sheets would, like, they didn't necessarily stink, but they just smelled like sweat. They smelled like sick sweat. So I cannot imagine how that room smelled. I cannot imagine how she felt. She must have been throbbing all over, not just her vagina. She must have been. And she said she didn't eat. Her body didn't even have any. Oh my god. I cannot imagine having an infection in such an intimate area. I can't even imagine going to the bathroom, peeing. Like, I hope that she didn't, you know, I hope she didn't accrue any damage. I hope her vaginal tissue is fine. I hope her bladder's fine. I hope her, you know, colon and everything is fine. Obviously, maggots, I believe, only eat dead flesh. I don't think they eat living flesh, so I don't know if, like, if they took a bite out of her vagina, if they just spit it out and be like, what is this, living blood? Get this out of here. So I don't know. This is crazy. Obviously, I don't know who this lady is. Obviously, they have a vagina. I assume they identify as a girl. I'm gonna assume that they're a girl because they said they have a vagina. This girl seems a little whacked out, but okay. I mean, good on her for doing what she wants to do, and no matter what anybody says. Like, I love the confidence. I love it when people do things, even if they're horrible, just because they want to. Like, I understand that you're doing something that you truly want to do, no matter what anybody says. I like that she's being true to herself, doing what she wants to do, not letting the thoughts of anyone. So what that people are gonna think she's disgusting? She's doing what she wants to do. So what that it is disgusting? She's being happy. This is obviously causing her happiness. So yeah, I mean, the maggots probably don't really care. You know, they're not being penetrated. So they probably don't really care about what's going on. They're probably just happy. They're probably just happy that she's not killing them. This isn't, you know, this is just a cool story. This is just a cool story. Some lady sharing with her, you know, sharing with the audience what she's gone through. I want to read her next experience with maggots. Let me know in the comments if you guys would want me to read the second experience with maggots. I'm not sure if she has any more experience with maggots than like 1 or 2, but if she does, I mean, whichever experiences I can find, if you guys want me to react to them, I totally will. Would I be friends with this person? Yeah, because I feel like I don't know if I would go over to their house, but I would meet up with them in a public place, kind of separate from other people so they can't hear us talk, and talk about their life and get their, you know, see their point of view on things. But I probably wouldn't go to their house. But yeah, if you are the author of this story, if this is your story, girl, you're crazy, but I admire you for doing something you want to do no matter what. And I admire you for sharing the story. You know, I admire you for sharing it. Obviously, her face isn't on the blog or whatever it is. I mean, I don't care to know who she is. It's none of anybody's business as long as she doesn't have any STDs. You know, nobody needs to know where the pussy's been. Nobody needs to know where the been. Nobody needs to know what the pussy's been through. They only need to know that the right now is clean. That's all important. So I really hope this is a real story. I really hope that this is someone's real life true experience. Because obviously something like this being fake, it just makes it stupid. Makes it unworthy of reading. This being a real life true story makes this an amazing read. Makes this so great that it's real. It's so mind-blowing. It's so mind-blowing. I wish I knew what this person looked like. I wonder if she's attractive. You know, wonder if she's like a hideous woman. I wonder if she's like a super attractive woman that you just, I don't know. I don't know. Is she super short? Is she super tall? Does she have long hair? Does she wear makeup on the daily? Did she have nails while this was going on? Did she have press-on nails? Did she get a manicure while this was happening? How did her parents feel? I'm gonna look, maybe. I want to know how her parents feel. How did your parents feel? Especially, because I'm assuming they took her to the hospital if she passed out in her bed. You know, after a few hours or a few days, your parents are going to come into your bedroom and be like, hey, what the hell is wrong? You haven't helped with the dishes or nothing. So I'm assuming it was her parents who helped her. I want to know how they feel. I want an interview with the parents. I want to know, what, did they disown their daughter? Did they cry in the hospital, in the waiting room? Were they embarrassed? Like, were they embarrassed with the nurses and stuff, like looking at them? Were they just so shocked? Did they put their daughter in therapy? How much money do they make a year? Because I'm picturing like a beautiful house, big bedrooms. I don't know why I'm picturing that, but I always pictured this as like a rich girl who just, you know, doesn't really care about the repercussions of life because she's rich and she can afford to have a good life no matter what. So she's just doing whatever she wants. That's what I've always pictured. So I'd love to find out who this is, but obviously, you know, if she doesn't want to be necessarily found out, like, that is her choice too. I don't really know what to think. I need to get more people's reactions in on this. Maybe I'll film a video of me. Maybe I'll try to get some people in my family to let me record their reactions to me reading this story to them. I would love to get my mom's reaction, but she'd probably just go la la la. Like, she probably wouldn't even listen to me. I feel like her reaction would be gold. But you guys, what the hell do you think about this story? What do you think of Blowfly Maggot Girl? A white truck just drove by with a bunch of like blood splatters on it. Hell yeah, brother. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go take some meat, find a dumpster, let it rot for a while. I'm gonna go back in a few weeks and hump some garbage bags. I don't know about you guys, but I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Please leave a like and a comment and subscribe because I had to read this. I would love to see Eden Carlisle react to this movie. Her and her boys, or the triplets, whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna go and wash my eyes out with some bleach. Maybe, I don't know, floss the inside of my head between my ears. Check my description box for my Patreon, my Macari, and my Depop if you want ways to support me. Also, buy me a coffee, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, Reddit, Letterboxd, and Criticless if you want to keep up with my movies. Make sure you follow me on all of those, and make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on the video. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye! Don't do any weird shit with maggots while I'm gone. Popping in here because of my stupid glasses, but I did my makeup. I wanted you guys to see it in all its glory. I know my glasses hide it, but I am blind. Alright, yeah, that's my makeup. Hope you like it. Very vampy. I'm so pale anytime I just touch an eyeshadow and put it on. It's like, so, hope you like it.